Hi, everybody. So I hope that you are doing well. And this is a live stream. It's just me. A lot of times I've had a guest lately, but this one, it's just me and just going to be chatting. And I hope that you enjoy it and give you a little update on everything that's happening in my life and everything I've been watching on stage and screen. So, welcome and thank you for watching. And I do have a drink because it's so dry here. We've had so little moisture this winter. It's been insane. We have basically had no snow since last March, which is just crazy. That's usually not the case for Utah. So I was doing some interviews, including which you're going to see this week. You're going to see my Sundance interviews, which I'm really excited about. Sundance animator interviews. And one of the animators is from Tunisia. And he was pretty excited coming here to Utah. And I was like, just a warning, don't expect a lot of snow. That could be disappointing because there's not much here. Not much here. So yeah, anyway, but it's just really dry because there's just been no moisture. So anyway, but I have the chat room open, and if you want to do super chat, if you have a particular question that you want me to dive more into that's a little bit more specific or whatever, do the super chat and you can help support the pod and everything that I'm doing. So yeah, I am really excited about what's going on right now with my career. I am been working at the movie show, as you all know, and basically, kind of what's happening is that so I was brought in as a substitute for Steve Sales, who it was a legend. He had been doing the movie show for over 30 years and incredible. Really admire him. Completely blown away to be asked to substitute for him. And so basically, this is a show on Friday mornings here in Utah that's on the KSL radio. That's an FM and an AM. And we talk about the new releases, and that's why I had to kind of pivot from doing a lot more classics content into more new release content. And I definitely miss some of that classic content, especially things like I don't know how I'm going to be able to do Jane Austen month coming up in February. We'll see if I can pull that off. So far, I even thought, oh, I can still do Disney Scares month. I can still do that kind of stuff, but it just, especially Disney Scares month, because I was already completely engrossed in Christmas for Hallmarkies podcast. So between everything for the movie show and then everything for that podcast, which is the most successful thing I do, there was no way that I could do another project. And so anyway, that's the long and short of it. But it's been fun. I mean, I've been pushed into seeing things I probably wouldn't have seen otherwise, and that's been a good experience. And I mean, the whole thing has just been incredible, and I really love the show. So if you haven't had a chance to go over to KSL, just look up KSL Movie Show and check it out. I think you'll like it. I think the banter's fun. I think the format's fun, and I just love doing radio. It's really a dream come true. So anyway, so I for most of this time I've been on a month to month kind of situation. I'm an independent contractor that they are using, but there hasn't been any kind of idea of kind of what's happening. And then Steve officially retired. Uh, we had his retirement episode the week of Christmas. So that is starting to kind of put things in motion. So now they are actually putting the position up as a job, and then so I applied for the job, and then we'll see. We don't know. I don't know the second part of that. I'm sure they'll do an interview, and if there's other candidates, they'll interview them, and then we'll go from there. So yeah, I'll just keep those positive vibes and those prayers out that everything will go well, and I will certainly let you know when I hear any more news on that front. But it's been so exciting, so exciting. So let's see here. We got a comment. I do. It says here, I do want to see Goat next month. Yeah, yeah, sure. I mean, I feel like it might not be the best, but it might be fun. Might be fun. So yeah, sure. I'm always up for any of the animated films. So yeah, I'm just I almost feel sort of a pinch me. Like I can't believe that this is happening, that I've had this opportunity even as long as I've had it. So anyway, I will let you know as soon as I hear anything further on that front. So let's see here. Hi, Rachel. I've enjoyed all of the clips of the KSL Movie Show here on your channel. Interesting that you may or may not continue whatever happens. It sounds like you've had a great experience. Yeah, so they are going through this process, and I kind of hope that. I mean, they said that I am a top candidate. I would hope so, so considering I've been doing the job for 6 months. But I have been very, very careful mentally to not assume that until I have that contract and it's a done deal, I am not going to assume, because it would just be too devastating to then find out that I didn't get it. So I've been very careful the way I talk about it. But I think I have a pretty good chance that they would want to keep using me, just for the continuity of the listeners. To have somebody new, I think, would be kind of surprising for them, especially when they've had Steve that was there for 30 years, to have somebody for just 6 months. But it's completely out of my control, so it doesn't do me any good to speculate. But thank you for listening to the clips, and if you do check out the whole show, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And so it's just been so exciting, so exciting. Okay. Let's dive in and talk about some of the things that I've been watching. So the last live stream I did was ranking the romances. So I actually have to go back to Christmas for the next one before that, as far as what I have been watching. So it's kind of fun. On Christmas Day, I actually watched the Royal Shakespeare Company live. Their Much Ado About Nothing. It's actually called Love's Labour's Won, which is an alternate title for Much Ado About Nothing. But it's neat because not only does this have a like they brought it up to the 1940s in the clothing and the other things like that, but they gave it a sort of aesthetic, a Christmas thing to it. And so it was a really fun thing to watch on Christmas. And so I enjoyed that a lot. The cast was really fun. Had Edward Bennett and Michelle Terry as Beatrix and Benedict, and yeah, just something different to watch on Christmas. So that's what I watched on Christmas Day, was the Royal Shakespeare Company. And then let's keep going here. Okay, then I saw Predator Killer of Killers. I watched this after recording the animation recap with Matt Brunet. And that was really a great time. We had so much fun recording that. And it was cool because I was able to help him to get access to some of the more indie screeners. And I was really surprised that he didn't have a relationship with like GKIDS, and because he's way more popular than me. He's a more specific critic, but GKIDS is just animation. So I was really surprised that he didn't have that, contacts and relationships, but he didn't for whatever reason. And so I was able to help him with that. And it's cool because now on if you go over and watch his top 5 his best and worst video, he was able to have some of those more indies on that video this year, which he usually hasn't had. So he's done so much to be kind and helpful to my channel. I felt grateful that I was able to do something to help his channel, and that made me happy. So that was very fun. But anyway, Predator Killer of Killers, he actually recommended it during our discussion, and I had been meaning to see it. I just had ran out of time. And I started out not enjoying it. The first story is kind of this like Viking story, and I was just like, oh, this is just not for me, like I'm not a high fantasy person. I'm not so I was thinking, oh, I don't know. But it got better, and then the second and the third story were really good. And the animation throughout was excellent. And for somebody who I've only seen the original Predator and I've seen Badlands, to see this one, I enjoyed it. I thought it was what they're doing with the world building and storytelling is really neat. And I'm sure loyalists to the Predator franchise will have issues, but I'm intrigued. I'm excited about it. And like I said, the animation was really good in these. And so, this was not just some slop to add to Disney Plus. This was a quality storytelling, I think. Okay, we got a comment. Very happy with the Tangled casting. I never heard of either of the leads, which gives me hope Disney went with who was right for the role, regardless of fame. I had never heard of the girl. I had heard of Milo. Like he did all the zombie movies. He also did Journey to Bethlehem, which I really enjoyed, and he did Prom Pact, which I also loved. So he's done quite a bit that I have really enjoyed. He's very charismatic. It is perfect casting. But I would say in general, the casting has rarely been the problem with these Disney live action remakes. I mean, there's some people who say Rachel Zegler was bad casting. Fair enough. But for the most part, the casting has been really good for almost all of them. But it's just a question of the storytelling and what they give these talented actors to do that is frustrating. And I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah. Okay. So let's keep going. Then I saw The Secret Agent, and this is definitely like weirder and more offbeat than I was expecting going into it, particularly a whole segment involving a leg. That's I guess it's part of Brazilian lore, so maybe it doesn't feel as sort of surprising if you're Brazilian. But anyway, this leg walking around, like severed leg. This is bizarre. But I think they do a good job of capturing the experience of being in like a fascist state and always being worried about being watched, and what that's like, and following the characters. And it's a very well-made movie. It has a great look to it, and it is a long movie. But Wagner Moura as the lead, he's very good. He's very charismatic. He is somebody that I think could be a movie star with the right packaging. I think he could be really good. And he actually won at the Golden Globes. That was surprising, at least to me. I thought that was surprising. So who knows? Maybe he will do well at the Oscars. I don't know. But okay, then we have a movie called The Plague. Now, it sounds like it's some kind of disease movie, but it's really not. This is actually a bully horror movie, or thriller. I don't know. I still don't know the difference really between thriller and horror. No one's ever been able to successfully explain it to me. But this is a chilling film. It's incredibly intense. I will never want to watch it again, but it was very well made and well done for what it is. It's about this boy who moves into town and ends up going to this water polo, like little clinic kind of in the summer. And there's this other boy that is getting bullied very bad by this sort of mean boys group, and he is very like creative and always doing kind of odd things that ostracize him, like singing in the middle of nowhere, and just stuff like that makes him stand out. And he seems kind of socially unaware of how awkward he's being. And so then he, uh, he so then you have this new kid who is kind of he isn't welcomed into the cool kids, but he also isn't as awkward as this kid that's completely on the outs. And so he's sort of forced into this middle of like, am I going to side with the uncool, or am I gonna try to, or am I gonna join the mob? Kind of what, so in between, which I thought was an interesting that was an interesting point of view for your lead character to have. And what he was, his perspective. Like usually these stories are told from purely the perspective of the bullied kid. So this having this sort of in between character I thought was interesting. But man, it is brutal. This movie is tough. It's not one of those bully stories where it feels like, come on, kids aren't this mean. It feels like kids are this mean. Like this feels very real. And basically the reason why it's called The Plague is the bullied kid, he starts getting, it becomes like psychosomatic, and he starts getting this rash um, because of the bullying. And basically the middle kid, the lead kid, he says, I can't touch him or be around him because I'm going to get the plague. I'm going to get the rash. And so that becomes kind of part of the story. So that's why it's called The Plague. But man, I mean, this thing was very, very tense. And yeah, Joel Edgerton's in it, but he's the coach. So he's not in it that much. It's really these kids who are incredible, incredible acting. So if you want to watch an incredibly intense movie, then I very well made. Then I recommend The Plague. It was very good, but ooh, yeah, it was very intense. Let's see here. I get why Zegler is controversial, I guess, but I felt she squeezed some charm out of a role that had mediocre writing in contrast to Little Mermaid. She emoted well and seemed passionate. Actually, I really liked Hallie in The Little Mermaid, so I disagree there. But yeah, I mean, she did what she could with the role. There are people who didn't like, I mean, obviously I didn't like the things that she said, and when she was saying weird, and the disparaging things about the original film and just some of the other stuff, I didn't like that. But yeah, she did what she could with the role. But a lot of people thought she wasn't a good fit for Snow White. So who knows? Okay. So then we have more movies that I watched. So I've been working on watching all of the Disney films for 2025. Once Stanford is able to watch all of them, then we will do a Disney 2025 ranking. The problem is they've been really stingy with the screeners. So we have to wait particularly for him to see The Testament of Anne Lee, which doesn't come out until this week. So whenever he gets to seeing that, he'll be able to see it. So that's kind of what we're waiting for. But it might be in February, probably, because of Sundance and everything, that we will do that. But, do the best we can on that. But anyway, I saw the movie Pets. So this is a documentary about people and their pets. And they do have quite a few pets and different, kinds, like people with like lizards and birds, and so it's not just like dogs and cats, but and pigs. People with pet pigs, things like it's very cute, very sweet. This is on Disney Plus, and I do think this is much better than the like Disney Nature, where they try to tell the story and whatever. Like this is just like a cute little documentary about people and their pets. So yeah. Then I saw We Bury the Dead. So this is a zombie movie, but it's like a more like chill zombie movie than say like 20 years later or something like that. Like this is more of like an art piece. It's not really that like bloody or scary or anything like that. It's more like thoughtful and just so it's just a different experience than you would have at 28 years later or something like that. And so, but this is text. So this, I think it was Tasmania, has been there's been like a nuclear or chemical warfare. So all these people have died, and so they're going down there to basically clean up, including Daisy Ridley as looking for her husband who was there, and they have her be American for some reason. I have no idea why. But anyway, then she's looking for her husband, but as they're searching to get bury the dead, the dead starts to come back because of this chemical weapon is the idea. And I actually thought like it had a lot to say about grief and loss and processing everything. And I thought that it did such a good job with the sound design. I know that's a weird thing to praise sometimes, but really like anytime that they were around the zombies, you just cronk, 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 of the bones, this crush, 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 crunch. And it was just so tactile and everything. They did a great job with like atmosphere and tone, setting, and that really helped you feel sort of immersed in the story. And I do think Daisy Ridley was quite good. So if you haven't, if it sounds interesting to you, you might actually enjoy this one. It was better than I was expecting for a January zombie movie. It was better than I was expecting. So let's see here. I'm very much looking forward to the Disney ranking. That should be so fun. And very excited for the new All Creatures Great and Small. It's my favorite show currently running in the mainstream media. My favorite indie is the Amazing Digital Circus. Very creative show. Oh, I've heard of that. Cool. Yay. Yes. All Creatures Great and Small. So great. I hope you enjoyed the premiere. That was just last week. So episode 2 this week. And I really do love the show. And make sure to check out our Hallmarkies podcast. Me and Michelle are recapping that show, and it's been so fun because Michelle had some difficult things happen in her family and her life last year, and she lost her father and some other stuff, and so she wasn't able to podcast with me last year very much. And so it's been really fun to get to be back doing it for this show and to be talking with my friend. And it's just such a wonderful show, so well made, so well acted, such great characters. And so if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend. And if you feel like, oh my gosh, there's 6 seasons, I'm never going to be able to catch up, it's only, each season only has 6 episodes, 7 including the Christmas, so 7 episodes. So it's really not that like long of a binge, compared to maybe some other shows. So it's really lovely. And actually, if you wanted, you could easily start this season afresh because there's a 4-year time jump. So it would be a pretty easy, I think, spot to start watching if you didn't want to do the catch up. So that would be my suggestion. We have over at Hallmarkies Podcast, we have recaps of every single episode of All Creatures Great and Small. I love that show. Yeah. Okay, keep going. So I watched Anora again, which this was just random. It just happened to come on as I was watching something else, and so I just kept it on. So I was watching it, and I did like it a little bit better this time around, knowing kind of what it was, because people had really sold it to me that's, oh my gosh, this is hilarious the first time I saw it. And so I went in expecting like a comedy, and it's really not that kind of, I don't still don't think it's funny. It's not a comedy in my opinion. But just kind of putting that aside, I did enjoy it more this time than I did the first time I saw it. But I mean, I certainly wouldn't give it Best Picture. That's wild in my opinion. But I did enjoy it more this time, and I found more to appreciate about her performance. And I mean, it's of course very R-rated, so not going to be for everybody. But yeah, I think I see some of the appeal now that I didn't see because I was so disappointed that I didn't think it was funny or a comedy. You know, that can make a big difference when you're looking for something and you end up feeling disappointed. But it's still, I think, pretty shrill and shrieky, and so I still don't love it, but I appreciate it more this time. Then I saw, getting ready for my romance ranking. I saw The Life List. I watched The Life List. This was a Netflix rom com with Sophia Carson, where she wrote this life list of all these things she wanted to accomplish. And then her mom makes it part of getting her inheritance that she complete every single part of her mom who's died, every single thing on this list. And then there's sort of a romance with the lawyer. And I just thought that this was preposterous that any mother would do this that make this a requirement for her inheritance. And it was just, it's very unhinged, the whole story. Um, but it's like harmless, I guess. But I thought the romance was also kind of odd, since he's her lawyer, and she was like dating another person for a lot of it and going to him for legal counsel, and so it just got a little weird. I don't know. I didn't really like that one very much. Okay. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, I also saw A Nice Indian Boy. This was such a sweet, lovely little movie. It's about this Indian boy man. It's about this Indian man who is gay and hasn't come out to his family. Or I mean, he has. He's come out to his family, but they still think that he will want to marry a woman, and I don't know, like it hasn't 100% like come out. But anyway, he as far as his like life goals and what he wants and everything like that. And he ends up meeting Jonathan Groff, and they fall in love and they get married, and it's just a very charming little romance, that I highly recommend if if you like that kind of thing. I also watched one of the new Hallmark movies, Lost in Paradise, and this is with Lacey Chabert and Ian Harding, and she basically gets marooned on a deserted island, and she has to make do with this chef, this guy that she doesn't like. They don't get along, and it was cute. It was fun. It was fun. It kind of goes to some weird places that you don't expect, but I enjoyed it. Okay, so next is I Was a Stranger, and this is released by Angel Studios, and I was very, very, very surprised by this movie, because I'm not expecting this level of violence. This is one that they purchased, and I definitely got the feeling that Angel Studios is trying to push their brand and expand beyond sort of this faith-based market that they have been in. This movie was pretty violent. It's about four different Syrian refugee stories That said, it was very moving, very well done, very well acted. It is quite intense. You just have to know what you are watching when you see it. That this is not your like squeaky clean Angel Studios type project. That this is one they purchased, and it is quite violent. It's a war movie. It's a war movie, but you definitely feel immersed in the story of these refugees. So I recommend it. Next is Primate. So this is the one we had the big debate with on the movie show. I hope you enjoyed that. It was a lot of fun. This movie is incredibly silly. This is not like your gritty horror movie. This is over the top, and to me, that was really fun. I was laughing. I was enjoying it. There's a scene where the chimpanzee knows how to use the car clicker. That's absurd and ridiculous. And yeah, all of the people are ridiculous and idiots, and why they don't get the ape in the pool, or it's nonsense. But like I think in the grand spirit of schlocky, fun creature horror movies, like going back to things like The Blob or, something like that, or even Godzilla or, these sort of schlocky horror creature movies. And that's what this is kind of inspired by, I think, is that in that tradition. And so I had a lot of fun with it, but it's certainly not high art. It's certainly not a great movie by any means, but if and the kills are very, 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 very over the top. But that kind of added to the over the topness, in my opinion. But yeah, so I like Primate. I had fun with it. But my co-host on the movie show, he did not like it at all. Okay. So then the next thing that I saw, this was also for that romance ranking, was Kind of Pregnant. So I've been putting this one off, and I finally watched it. And what a horrible, horrible film. If I had seen it, I probably would have it on my worst of the year. Not probably, I definitely would have had it on my worst of the year list. What an unlikable character. Her lying to everybody that she knows, and not in like a fun screwball comedy kind of way, in a like very manipulative, mean way. And you just hated her character, and it wasn't funny. So and like the way that even before the pregnancy thing, the way that she treats her students as a teacher was just absolutely unhinged and not funny. And like she would be so fired so many times, and it just was really bad, very, very bad. So I don't recommend Kind of Pregnant, that's for sure. Okay, so then I saw People We Meet on Vacation, and this is the adaptation of the popular novel Emily Henry. And I think they did a really good job. We have a whole episode of Hallmarkies podcast that's going to be a deep, deep dive. Me and Monda, we talked about this movie, and we did go on some tangents, but we ended up talking about this movie in detail and our comparisons, things they changed from the book, things they kept in, for about 70 minutes. That's going to post next week. Because we just had so much to say, because both of us are big fans of the book, both big fans of the movie. So they did change quite a bit, and we talked about it. But I thought that they did a good job of making Alex a little bit more of a proactive person that's not just reacting to everything. Because when I read the book, I just feeling like, oh my gosh, this is like a perfect human, like his responses and getting so friend zoned. And so I liked that they kind of gave him a little more personality, and the chemistry between Emily Bader and Tom Blythe was really strong, really well done. And you get all the vacation that you could want, vacation porn, I guess, that you could want. So that's enjoyable. And yeah, I really had a good time with it. And then I got to see it on the big screen uh, because a local bookstore did a two theater screening, and I'm sure they weren't supposed to. I think they were just like screencasting it, which is wild because at a certain point, uh, there was a Microsoft Teams notice that came onto the screen. So that was hilarious. But I don't care, like I'm not gonna get in trouble with Netflix. I so it doesn't matter to me. I got to see it on the big screen, and that was amazing, and it was so much fun to watch it with a crowd and all be kind of oohing and eyeing, and it just made me sad that that's such a rare experience that most like there's so many women that would love to have seen it together and go together and see it on the big screen, and it just makes me so mad what they've done with romantic comedy. It's so frustrating. Then I saw, let's see here, what after that? Oh, so I saw Greenland, both Greenland movies. So Greenland and then Greenland 2 Migration, which I still think is one of the funniest titles. Greenland 2 Migration. I don't know. I think that's really funny. So I had never seen Greenland, the original, and because I just didn't want to watch it in 2020, and I didn't have to watch everything back then, but now I do. And so I watched it. I was like, man, that must have been intense in 2020 because it's about uh, a comet that destroys, or an asteroid or whatever, that destroys most of the world, and an end of the world scenario. That must have been intense in 2020, but it is well done. I thought it was entertaining, gripping, well acted, well done. So I liked Greenland, and then Greenland 2, also well done, good characters, good acting. Yeah, both of them solid. Both of them solid. It was kind of funny because some people were saying that the Greenland 2 Migration is like Land Before Time, but with humans, which is totally true because they're trying to go to the crater where there's been this sort of promised land. There's this spot that's got all of the lushness and greenness and everything like that. So they're on this like journey to the crater, and which is exactly like Land Before Time, which is funny, I thought. But it's good. I mean, it was well done. I have no idea why they made Greenland 2. Uh, I mean, talk about a movie that nobody asked for, but it was well done. Then we have The Coral. And this is a World War One story about Ray Fiennes' character, and he is choir master for this choir during World War One in England. And but the problem is that all of the choir members keep getting drafted, keep getting conscripted, and so he can't do what he wants, the big event that he's trying to do. But then also he's kind of ruffling feathers because he wants to do a German song. And so that is your sort of base story. They kind of go on, I think, one too many tangents, and it was a little boring, if I'm honest, but it is well done. It's a good story. I I had given it 2.5 on Letterbox. That's probably a little low. I think I'd go with 3. It's worth watching. It's a good story. He is a gay man, Ralph Fiennes' character, so there's a little bit of that added in, sort of element. But just know going into it, the pacing's a little slow, but the music is really good, and it's a well done, story. Okay, then I saw a movie called A Private Life. We'll actually have this on the movie show, I think, this upcoming week, I think, because they changed, or it might be the week after. They changed the release date on it, so that's why we didn't end up covering it. But this stars Jodie Foster, and she plays a therapist or psychiatrist that one of her clients ends up dying, and because of a drug that she had prescribed, and she's very obviously concerned and upset about that, and she starts looking into it, and she feels more and more concerned about it. So be sure sort of becomes this amateur sleuth, and it becomes this mystery. And what's interesting, so this whole thing is set in France, and for most of the movie, Jodie Foster's character speaks French, which quite and she has a lovely French sound. So I don't think it was something just for this movie. Um, so that was interesting, I thought. And yeah, I thought it was engrossing. I said on Letterbox that this was better than Knives Out movies, and I stand by that. Like the way that the way that built the clues, so you were following along the tension building, that you were invested in her character, and yeah, the cast is great. You have, let's see, who would, I don't know if you would know. I think the cast, everybody you would recognize, but not like on a name basis, except for Jodie Foster. But she's good, very good. And yeah, I liked it. I thought it was a good little mystery. There's this whole thing with her and her ex-husband, this romance thing. That's probably the least effective part of the movie, but I would still recommend A Private Life. Okay. Then we have, let's see here. Okay, then there's Dead Man's Wire. And this is a new film from Gus Van Sant. And it is a really worthwhile movie. You should check it out. It's still in theaters. It's very tense. It tells the true story of this man who, after getting rejected by this mortgage company, and he takes the mortgage president, the bank president, and he holds a gun to him and ties this wire around his neck. And this is a true story, all everything that happened, um, and even like the imagery looked very similar. The way that like the type of gun, the way that he's held the gun, the wire, all that stuff. This is 1977, and Bill Skarsgård, he plays this guy, this man who holds him up, and he's unhinged and angry, and I think they were trying to sell it as sort of an anti-hero type of thing, but I wish there was like a little more context so that we felt a little bit more sympathetic. He just seems like a crazy madman, but I still thought it was quite good, quite gripping, well done, tense. You have Coleman Domingo playing this DJ he is so smooth. I'm like, I wish that Coleman Domingo was like an actual DJ and had like a smooth jazz, kind of show. Or I'd listen to that because he's perfect for that. So that was fun. Cary Elwes plays that, like basically the hostage negotiator. He looks so different though. So that's good. So it's great cast. Decker Montgomery plays the mortgage guy. You have Al Pacino playing his, I think it's his dad, who's like the head guy of the mortgage company, who doesn't really care about this guy and what's happening. So he's like the most sort of the greedy businessman that we're supposed to not like. But yeah, this was well done. It was tense. It was I didn't feel like it wasted any space or time. I certainly wasn't bored. I think it was very good. I think you should check it out. Okay, then next is, so I saw a little independent movie called Remy Milligan Lost Director, and it was they had reached out to me and asked me to review it. And usually I don't, but I happen to have a little bit of free time. So I was like, okay, I'll watch it. I watched it, and it's a mockumentary about this director going missing, that was like a grindhouse kind of director. But the thing is it's a mockumentary. So but it took itself kind of seriously, which I thought was strange. Like, it's a fake documentary. It's not real. Like, it's not a real person. So wouldn't you expect it to be funny? Like, I don't know. My just response was, what's the point of this? I don't get it. Like, to have a fake documentary that's serious? I don't know. I thought it was odd. But anyway, I saw that. Then I saw a movie called Night Patrol, and this is a vampire story. It's about it's in I think it's Los Angeles. And there's this there's this unit of the LAPD that is this night patrol, but the night patrol has gotten infiltrated by vampires. And so they, and including Justin Long, and it is very bloody. So if you, and I can see why some people would enjoy it. I enjoyed parts of it. It's definitely, like I said, very bloody. So if you're in it for the gore, if you're in it for the, then I think you'll enjoy it. It does get hurt a little bit by. It's hard not to compare it to Sinners, and it is by far not as good. The acting is quite poor. I mean, you can tell that they had like a nothing budget. Um, I mean, it was kind of amazing that they got Justin Long, I think, in this movie. But it just, I don't know, it just wasn't funny enough. It wasn't tense enough. It wasn't that it just didn't quite come together for me as a satisfying film on like any level. Like it wasn't funny enough. It wasn't scary enough. It wasn't sort of action packed enough. Just any of the sort of things I think it was trying to do um, didn't quite come together. So, but if it sounds like your thing, you might give it a shot. Okay, then we have 28 years later, The Bone Temple. So the last one, 28 years later, I didn't love it, but I was intrigued by it. It was the kind of movie that I kept thinking about, and what it was trying to do and what it was trying to say. And I thought it was an interesting experiment. So going into this one, I was intrigued, and I'd heard really good things from a bunch of my friends who saw it, like a Fantastic Fest, I think, or whatever. So I went in to see the movie, and I had a very mixed experience with this one. And I think it lost some of that of what I liked about the last one as far as the experimentalness of it. This one's much more straightforward in its storytelling, and being able to sort of, when we're like, that was an interesting scene. What were they trying to do there? Like that really wasn't a part of this movie. And I don't know if it's part of the franchise in general, if that was just that movie, whatever. But this one, everything with Ray Fiennes, I quite enjoyed. Everything with him and Samson, the friend story, I thought was fun and kooky and entertaining, compelling characters, good performance from Ray Fiennes. But everything with the gang, and Spike and the gang was less effective, in my opinion. I thought that the religious metaphors were very heavy-handed and overdone. I thought that the the torture sequences were so graphic and were so long. I've seen, especially lately, seen some pretty graphic movies, but I think part of the job of the director is to know when to pull away and when to give your audience a break. And these torture scenes went on so long, were so graphic that it really was hard to watch. And I know that's part of the point, to be hard to watch, but it was to such an extent that it was kind of deadening for me, just in my interest in the picture and what was happening and with the characters. And it just became about the torture, not about the characters and what their narrative of what was happening. Kind of stopped everything at that point, and all I could kind of think about is the torture and all that. It just overtook the movie, I think. And I gotten a lot of pushback for saying that. I didn't want this movie to be like warm and cozy and whatever. I just don't think that the violence was well paced. It's I don't think that it helped with the character development. Um, and I felt like that Ray Fiennes' character was really the only character that we actually kind of got to know on an intimate level. There were so few moments when I felt like I really was in Spike's head where I really got to know him and follow his character. It was just like seeing him in agony, which I don't like that. I don't like seeing him in agony, but like do something with that, do something with and also give me a break from it, you know? So I don't think it was well directed from a pacing and from a character standpoint, especially everything with the Spike. They should have, I think, switched back to the Ray Fiennes more and not had those torture sequences be so long. But you know, that's just my opinion. It's not an awful movie by any means. I don't hate it, but I would never watch it again. It's just, you know, not not for me. And I have a feeling, I guess, this franchise just isn't for me. That because I didn't love the last one, and then this one, I did not enjoy. So, you know, but a lot of people were like, "Well, why did you watch the movie if you didn't like the last one?" I literally have a job where I have to go on the radio and talk about the movies. So, I mean, what am I going to do? Be on the movie show and be like, "I didn't see the movie." I have to have seen the movie, so I have to try my best to give it a fair shot. And you know, so everybody has parts of their job that they like less, that they like more, that are harder, that are better, you know? I mean, and I think people when they're listening to my review, they know that I'm coming from it from this particular point of view. And so if you hear me saying that something like The Plague is worth watching, even though it's very brutal, like you know I'm coming from that perspective, as opposed to say if you go over and watch like Cody Leach's channel, like he's coming from a perspective of a person who watches, you know, horror is his thing. He likes the gore. He likes the, you know, so his perspective on something will be very different than my perspective. But and that's what's cool about criticism. That's what's cool about the discussion. And I've been actually a lot of my horror friends have been incredibly supportive of me and sort of my inadequacies in the genre. And I really appreciate that actually, that they have been so sort of supportive of my and not sort of dismissed, oh, like, well, Rachel, um she doesn't watch horror, so why is she, you know, what is her opinion isn't valuable because of that. But you know, she's the Hallmark girl. But I felt nothing but really great support from Sean Chandler, from Lee Drumdums. All of those people have reached out to me and been really supportive and helped me to know kind of what to expect with certain films and with the genre. And I really appreciate that a lot. And I think that horror sometimes gets a bit of a bad rap about being kind of a bit of a gatekeeping genre sometimes. But my experience has been pretty positive with the community and them welcoming me and trying to help it be a positive experience for me, which I really appreciate. Okay, then I saw a movie called Seeking Persephone. This was really funny. So I saw 28 Years. I saw Bone Temple, and then I saw Seeking Persephone, and you couldn't be like the more of a difference between these two films. Like this really is quite the contrast. But so Seeking Persephone, it is based on a novel by Sarah Eden, and this was a Kickstarter movie that they did because her novel is very popular, but more so like in Utah. It's not a religious book, but it is popular amongst Mormons, Latter-day Saints. But it's anyway, she's a local author. So they did this Kickstarter, and it's basically a Beauty and the Beast kind of story. It's also what they call in the tropes of romance, they call it a mail order bride. And she's not technically a mail order bride, but she is offered this woman is it's Regency time, I think, and she's offered marriage and this great uh, windfall for her family that will help save her family. So she agrees to this arranged marriage, and she gets there, and the man has scars on his face. But she goes through with the marriage, and the movie is about their marriage, and the book is about their marriage and how they fall in love with each other, which is a classic, like I said, romance trope, the mail order bride trope of romance that they arrange marriage. It's totally a thing in romance novels, and so that's fun. And also, he's kind of like I said, Beauty and the Beast. He's really scowling and everything like that. I really enjoyed this. They had good chemistry. They I think especially with the budget that they had, how well it's made is very impressive. I think that they're going to want to cut it down a little bit. I mean, it's 3 hours long, and I think that's going to make it hard for them to market it. But what do I know? What do I know? But it doesn't have a release date yet. But this is like the seventh early screening that they have done here. So it definitely has a following here, and I'm glad that I finally got to see it. And I can't wait until it does get the full release. But something to keep an eye out for. I thought it was well done. I mean, the biggest criticism that I would have of it, aside from it being a little too long, is that they really wimped out in giving him any kind of scars. Like, I mean, it is so small. Like, it's so. Uh, there's no world where that would like socially ostracize anybody, especially a duke. So I think they could have given him a little bit more scars. But other than that, really enjoyed it, and it's a nice story about people falling in love. So I'm gonna like that. Okay, so let's see here. Yeah, I'm sorry. 20 years Bone Temple was such a hard sit for you. And as you say, deadening. It's ridiculous to me that some people have been grouchy and even scolding about that. Yeah, you saw it on my thoughts where I was trying to process how I was going to review the movie, and people saying like I found it amazing that people were upset about my reaction when I literally have not reviewed the film yet. So if anything, what I would do if I was in their situation is actually encourage the things that I felt positive about it, or talk to me about feeling positive about it, or I would think that being open about my mixed response and my struggle to sometimes review films that are out of my I would think that you would want to encourage me on the movie and not be like, what are you doing watching, even watching the movie? I mean, like I said, everybody has parts of their job that they don't love, that are challenging. This would be something that's challenging on my job. And but I'm trying my best to do it in like the only reason I put out that short about the challenges of reviewing is because I am trying to be fair. I'm trying my hardest to give it as fair I am a fair shot as I possibly can. Like if I didn't care about that, I would just put out some video about how it sucks, and how like I could easily have put out a review where I'm just focusing on the things that I didn't like and not care about all of those things and my integrity as a critic. I could just if I was just seeking the attention and the clicks, I could have easily put out a video just focusing on the things that I didn't like. But that's not what I did. I was honest about my struggles and how it can be really hard sometimes to know how to review certain projects that are outside of my comfort zone, but I still want to be fair. And I think being honest about that struggle is important. I think that, I mean, some people, it might make them uncomfortable because they want to see the critic as this like firm, decisive, you know exactly how you feel about every film. but I don't think that's being honest. I don't think, and people seem to sometimes think that it's being dishonest to not just say how I feel, but sometimes I don't know how I feel. Sometimes I have mixed feelings, and that can be a challenge. And I'm working, I need to work through it. And I would like to think that my viewers and my listeners would want to be part of that process, would want to be part of me being honest about that process. But there are some people who that makes them very uncomfortable, and they want somebody who's just like, you know, only the hyperbole. But that's not what you're going to get with me. That's not what you're going to get. So, okay, the only perspective one can offer is one's own. If you didn't enjoy a movie, you have no obligation to just shut up about it, especially if you're a critic and it's your job to give your thoughts. And like I said, sometimes I don't know how I felt. Sometimes it's complicated. And you have to also review a film in a certain degree of context. What were they trying to do? What were they trying to achieve? Obviously, if I'm watching something that is really trying to go, if I'm watching something that's really trying for an Oscar, that I'm just going to look at that, I'm sorry, differently than Primate, that's schlocky and silly, and like those are different experiences, and you have to look at it. What is it trying to do, and is it successful in what it's trying to do? I think that's very important. Not that you give anything a pass because it's Oscar bait or not Oscar bait, but sometimes it's just not as simple as, did you like it or not like it? And that's the part of the problem with sort of the Rotten Tomatoes system, is that it forces you to pick a team. I hated it. I loved it. People see, oh, you went rotten on it, you hated it. That's not always the case. Oh, you went fresh on it, you loved it. Why did you love it? You had all these things you didn't like about it. Well, there were also things I liked about it. Anyway, it's not some kind of, it's not as easy as people think to critique something as complex as film and theater. That's just true. Anyway, okay, so then the last movie, it's called The Rip, and this is on Netflix. And it's got this incredible cast: Ben Affleck and Matt Damon and Steven Yeun, Tiana Taylor, Kyle Chandler, just an incredible cast. And they play these officers, these detectives who find this drug stash, this money, and it's like $20 million. But they have to count it, and nobody knows how much money is in this drug stash. So they have basically the temptation of, we could take some of it, we could take a lot of it, we could take all of it. Like, we don't even have, and nobody would know, nobody would know if this was, oh, it was actually 15 million, but we took 5 million. Nobody would know. And so that's the temptation. Also, you have each one of these members, you don't know, are they legit or are they narcs, basically, for the drug mafia, for all of that. And so it's very well done, very tense, well acted. It is, very R-rated, language, some violence, things like that. But it is a well done little action thriller. And the cast, I mean, you just can't beat this cast. And Kyle Chandler's great in it. He's always great. So if that sounds like something that you would like, then I think it's definitely, I mean, especially in the world of Netflix action, it's quite good. But the only thing that I wish, so this was directed by Joe Carnahan, and it's very pedestrian as far as the direction. I kind of wish that somebody with like a little bit more flair and a little bit more personality and sort of directed it. I think that would have taken it to the next level. Somebody like a Tarantino or even a Ben Affleck, I think would have given it a little bit more personality, a little bit more, um, made it more interesting. But it is an entertaining little movie, and I think worth your time if you like those kind of tense action thrillers kind of movies. So that is The Rip. Okay, so that is everything that I have been watching on the screen. So let me talk a little bit about what I've been watching on the stage. So right now there isn't that much on the stage because like the holiday shows have ended, and so now we're sort of transitioning in these weeks to the January show. So there hasn't been a ton, but let's go over it. Okay. So I saw Christmas week, I saw Christmas Carol at Hill Center Theater. They always do such an incredible job, and so that was fun. I was able to see it with my mom and my sister, and they do a wonderful job of telling the stories, but then adding just enough spectacle to make it feel like it's worth your ticket, the experience. And so I enjoyed, Christmas Carol, getting to see it with my mom and sister, and that was kind of the last holiday event that I did because it was like 2 days after Christmas. So and then I saw Pride and Prejudice at Centerpoint. This was in their second stage, and when I first saw it, it sold out almost immediately, the entire run. So I didn't think I would get to see the second cast, which I was sad about. But then they announced that they had some openings for this was their final day on the 31st. This was on or 30th. This was on New Year's or yeah, on the 30th. They announced that they had some tickets, so I immediately called in. I was very excited, and ended up going with my dad and my sister and my niece, and we had such a good time. Wonderful production. What they did with the projections was really, really, really good, because it was in a black box and it really made it feel like you were surrounded by the story, and that you were like in Pemberley, that you were in, these things. It was so cool. And this is such a great script done by Melissa Leone Larson for Pride and Prejudice. Really, really, really good adaptation, and so I loved it. It was so much fun. And it was kind of cool because I knew a ton of people in the production. So to get to introduce them to my sister and my dad, and stuff like that was fun. It was fun. They were like, everybody knows you, which is not true, but it was a fun night. Okay. So then I saw, like I said, there hasn't been that much because you're sort of in between productions. I saw The Last 5 Years, and this was Heart Theater Company. And this is one of those musicals that has very few elements. So you really have to get those elements down, that so it might seem like nitpicking, but it's just a very simple musical. You have a couple, and Jamie, the male, he is starting at the beginning of the relationship, and Kathy is starting at the end of the relationship, and you hear their story. And the thing I didn't love about this production is, like, they are supposed to they're on the stage together. They don't actually meet until the wedding song. And that helps sort of build the tension, and because they're both telling flip sides of the story, it all convenes sort of at this wedding. And I feel like it was a mistake to have them to not do that in this. They had them touching, they had them on the bed together, they had them leaning over each other, exchanging clothes, things like that. And I don't know, I just think that took away some of that tension, some of that building momentum that you have with the show and the way it's normally done. But even beyond that, I just felt like the Jamie was miscast. He didn't have the swagger that you need, in my opinion, for Jamie. He needs a certain degree of like cockiness. He needs to sort of sell the role. Um, and I just didn't think that worked. But I appreciate it was an ambitious choice. It's a hard show to do. And Kathy was quite good. She was very, very good. And so that, I enjoyed her songs. And so, it just wasn't in the end my favorite, but had some good things about it. And then I saw Some Enchanted Evening. This is a Broadway review of Rodgers and Hammerstein songs. This was done at the Heritage Theater in Perry, Utah, which is this restored church that they have turned into a theater, and I just love them. They have such heart and soul, and everything I want from like a community theater. And it was fun. They had, I think, 33 songs, so a lot of Rodgers and Hammerstein songs, and they go over all of the different shows, not just the big popular ones. And this, is this definitely amateur production as far as the quality of the singing and some other stuff, but it was sweet, and I enjoyed it. So there was that. I think. And then I saw Children of Eden. This was at the Liahona Preparatory Academy, and I'm very, very impressed that they didn't do Children of Eden Junior, because there is a high school edition. Because this thing's a beast. The size of the cast, the number of the songs. It's basically practically most of the Old Testament. You've got all of that. The first act is all Adam and Cain and Abel, Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel, all of that, and then the second act is Noah and all of that story. So it's incredibly ambitious. The arc that they built was absolutely stunning. The students, very good, and having to do so many songs, so many roles. Each one had to play multiple characters depending on the act. All of that, very impressive. And I had not seen this show in a long time. I hadn't seen it since it was at BYU, which was like a long time ago, probably 15 years ago. And so it was very fun to get to see it again. And yeah, it was great. It was very ambitious. This theater company, this high school, they're so bold in their picks that I absolutely loved their Starlight Express. And their Hadestown was incredible. They built this entire elevator sequence, the elevator set piece, that was incredible. So they really go above and beyond. And I just love that this teacher pushes his students so hard. And their Harry Potter was very impressive. So it's an incredible acting program, and they were incredible. So that is Children of Eden at Liahona. So there we go. That is everything that I've seen on the stage. Let's see here. The only perspective one can offer is one's own. If you didn't enjoy a movie, you have no obligation to just shut up about it, especially if you're a critic. I already read that. Okay. Yeah. And then I'm about to watch Charlie the Wonder Dog. Oh, enjoy that. That'll be great. Okay. And then how lovely to see a good adaptation of Pride and Prejudice. That sounds so fun. It's my favorite Austen book. Yeah, it is my favorite too. I feel like it's kind of cliche to say it's your favorite, but it is. It is my favorite. But all of her books are wonderful. And so yeah, it was wonderful, and it really is a great adaptation of that book. She did such a good job. And I actually interviewed her, Melissa Leone Larson, the playwright, over at Onstage Blog. I interviewed her, and that was really fun. So if you want to learn more about that, and that what it is like to adapt a classic like Pride and Prejudice, then you should check out that interview. It's a lot of fun. So that's basically everything that I have. I've got a lot of fun stuff coming. for content this week. Like I said, over at Hallmarkies Podcast, we're going to have that episode on people we meet on vacation. And even if you haven't seen that movie, I think it's a really fun we go on a lot of tangents. We ended up at one point talking about Hunger Games, and we end up it's a fun episode of Hallmarkies Podcast. I think that will post on Wednesday. And then we will have recaps of When Calls the Heart. We'll have recaps, All Creatures Great and Small, but not until the week after, because we do it on a 2-episode system. That's how we do it. But we have a recap of When Calls the Heart coming this week for that. And we had an interview post today with one of the actors, teen actors from When Calls the Heart. So that's what's going on the Hallmarkies Podcast side. And then for Rachel's reviews, such a busy week coming up this next week because we have Sundance. And so I've already interviewed 3 of the animators. So I'm going to be working on editing those interviews and getting them ready, and they'll post probably this week. So that's something to look forward to. I also have the preview of Sundance that I did with my friend Will from Film Snob Reviews. He's so funny and such a good co-host. I love him. And so anyway, that's coming up. That'll probably be on Tuesday. So something to look forward to. Also have Blind Spot that I might wait until the following week. We've already recorded it just to get ahead of things with Sundance. Me and Monda, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. We were not a big fan. So that's an episode that I think you'll enjoy. We got that coming up. There's Sam Raimi's new movie that I'm going to be seeing this week, Send Help. So you look for an out-of-theater reaction to that. Of course, you're going to have out-of-theater reactions to everything that I watch at Sundance. So that's a lot of fun. And, I'll try to keep you all involved with all of that. I might not actually end up going to anything until Saturday afternoon. We'll see, just because of some other commitments and things that I have going on. But I'm going to do my best to see as much as I possibly can at Sundance. But so that's coming up. Look forward to those interviews. Look forward to the preview. And so, yeah, let me know what you think and of everything. And thanks so much. I really appreciate all the support. And like I said, check out KSL Movie Show. I would love any positive reinforcement they get about having me on. I would so appreciate it. And their big thing is Facebook. But just any support on that level would mean a lot to me. So definitely please take a look at that, and please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. We actually went over the 7K subscribers. So that was really exciting, just this week. So thank you for that. And if you were listening when I upload it to iTunes, if you're listening on there, put in your ratings and reviews. Really appreciate that. That's like the hardest thing to get is an iTunes review. Even for Hallmarkies Podcast. I mean, we maybe get 2 or 3 a year. It's so hard. So if you have a podcast that you love, please review them and give them 5 stars on iTunes. It means so much. It helps so much, and on Spotify as well. If you can check out the Patreon, that's the biggest way you can support everything that we're doing. You get to be part of cool experiences. Like we have watch-alongs with talent where you get to learn about how movies are made, how TV shows are made. We had the showrunner for Mistletoe Murders on last month, and our patrons got to ask all kinds of questions about what goes into making a show and the choices made. Like, that's pretty cool experience for like a small little Patreon, I feel like. So please check it out. And then also you can listen to ad-free versions of everything that I produce by being a Patreon. I try so hard to make it worth the investment. So please check out the Patreon. And then the merch store, we have lots of fun designs. Even this one, my Smile Worthy, that's there. So if you want to get some cool movie designs, hashtag Animation Junkie shirts, things like that, check it out. And thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye.